Hello and welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to be telling a story, and we're going to talk about staying strong and finding peace. So I apologize in advance because this might be emotional. Hi, Violet. Violet, be strong for me. I just need a moment to think. So if you could all just bear with me. This is fresh as of an hour ago. So I want to show you. You can see the fence line right here. Okay, so See right here, right kind of behind this little small tree right here, there's kind of like a little spot right in there. You guys see that? Well, that's where my Poco was buried. And when he died, Miss Kitty walked all the way back here, and she stood right here for months. Every day she would walk back here. She stood here and watched him get buried. She stood there for hours after, and every day she would just come back here and she'd stand right there. So I thought that that was the best place to bury her. I'm gonna take a little walk over here. Oh my gosh, I'm stuck in the hole. Oh my gosh. Guys, I just fell in that. I just went in that hole. It is so wet here. And now I've got to put a fence around this because I can't risk. My husband, the same thing happened to him, but I thought I was far enough off to the side. But my husband went in that too. But I can't risk now any horses being back here and being around this. So we've got to get a, luckily they're not really coming back here yet because of the mud. So I'm gonna go over, see this dead tree right there? I'm gonna go sit over there. Oh man, I am soaked right up to my rear end. That was terrible. That's Miss Kitty's way of saying that's her way of saying, damn it, cheer up. Okay. Okay, guys. Can you hear me okay here? If the wind is bad, let me know. I'll walk back up to the barn. Seriously, guys, look at my pants. I'm lucky I didn't get swallowed up in that hole. You guys would have been with me. I would have been sucked into that hole. Everybody can hear me? Okay. If the wind is bad, you tell me and I'll just go walk up to the arena. But I just kind of want to sit outside. So Miss Kitty died last night, and thankfully we were able to I talked to my parents right away this morning because that was our plan. And if you watched the other day, you saw that, you know, if she died, you heard me say that if she died on her own, that would be my first choice. But then getting her to my parents was going to be, you know, tricky, but we would make it work out. Well, when I talked to my dad this morning, the whole area where they had to remove the snow to dig a hole was everything was just soup. So much water. Worse than what we've got right here, just because they cleared the snow right there, so all the snow that has melted has all run right there. And it's just a mess. So there was no way that we were gonna be able to get back there to bury her. There's no way. And then, you know, the thought of getting her into the trailer and stuff too would have been really difficult. So I'm gonna, I've been taking video footage of the whole thing, and I'll show you kind of like what our day's been like, and you'll see the whole process in a later video. But today I'll kind of explain to you what happened. So basically, after like 15 minutes after the live stream ended yesterday, Miss Kitty just had this look. And it's been a couple days where she's kind of lost the pep in her step. Like when I would lead her back and forth from the small barn to the arena, if there was any tightness on the rope at all, she would trot to catch up even now. Like that's what she was doing until 2 days ago. And she just kind of moseyed real slow the last couple days. So, you know, I noticed that. And then I've been paying attention to some different things and, you know, kind of looking at her face, and she sort of had, I want to say that her eyes, like she still perked her ears up and everything, but her eyes had her eyelids almost looked a little bit swollen. Like, you know, when you don't get enough sleep and your eyes are just puffy? That's how she's looked for like 2 days. And she's not wanted to eat any grain. And I've had issues with her not wanting to eat grain and stuff, but she just, like, she's like, no. You know, usually she'll eat something. So, but she's been eating a lot of hay. And she's been hanging out with Rosie, and that's been really good for her, I think. But so yesterday after the live stream ended, a few minutes, like I said, afterwards, she sort of looked at me, and it was just different than I had seen. And she walked over and laid down, and I went over by her, and she was not, she didn't curl her lip or anything. There was none of those like pain responses. She'd turn her head back towards her belly, but it wasn't like it had been, okay? And I don't know, I just had a feeling, I'm like, this is different. And I stayed with her for a little while, and I was gonna go take her temperature. So I went in the house to get a thermometer, and I have 4 of them. And I came out with all my thermometers, because they're all in the same case, and every stinking battery was dead. Every single thermometer. I was so crabby. And she was breathing a little different. She just kind of had like a heavier breathing to her, and she felt a little warm to me. So I pulled her blanket off of her, and I wasn't able to take her temperature because my thermometers were dead. But I hung out with her for a little while, and she just wanted to lay peacefully. Like she did not look like she was like in any kind of like distress. She wasn't, I didn't feel like I needed to give her Banamine. I didn't feel like I needed to do anything for her except for just sit there. So that's what I did. And then I ran in the house, and I made dinner for my family, and we all went back out after dinner. And she got up, you know, and you could see like she'd lay down for a little while, like 15, 20 minutes, and then she'd kind of get up, and then she'd just sort of mosey somewhere else, and then she'd just lay down, and she'd just be real quiet and just lay there. And Rosie would kind of follow her around sometimes, and Miss Kitty'd get crabby with her. And Miss Kitty's just like that. She doesn't like anybody, like she's very much a loner kind of horse. You know, in the beginning of all this, when there was like, okay, there's something wrong with her and we couldn't figure it out, she was really worried to be alone, like really worried. And I think it was that whole, like, she was realizing that there was something wrong. And especially when the herd started pushing her away, it was a really hard transition. But then once she switched over to accepting the new normal, then she seemed to do well with it. But anyway, so Rosie was just kind of annoying her a little bit last night, and I locked Rosie outside of the arena, just so she'd leave her alone. And the kids and I and Jason, we all just kind of, Jason stood at Miss Kitty's head and just pet her, and Bodie was brushing Rosie, and Tova and I were brushing Miss Kitty, and we just brushed and brushed and brushed, and oh my gosh, like a Shetland pony worth of hair came off of her. And Miss Kitty really loves to be groomed. You know, you can groom her all day and she loves it. She kind of expects it almost, because she believed, you know, Miss Kitty's the type of horse where she believed that you work for her. So, you know, she just stood there and it was like, oh yes, you know, pamper me more. And we brushed and brushed and brushed, and when we were done brushing, I took her blanket and I put it back on her. And as soon as she had the blanket on, as soon as I had all the buckles done up and everything, she just turned and walked away. And she went and lay down. And so we had you know, we were out in the arena with her till after midnight. You know, I think we sent the kids in at midnight. And Jason and I just hung out there. I mean, the kids just sat with her, they pet her, they loved on her, it was good. So, and then last night, you know, after the kids went in, I told Jason, I said, we should head in. And, you know, what she would do is while she was laying there, she would lay flat and just lay there for a few moments flat, and then she would sit up. Like, she just was trying to find like the right way to lay. And she was alternating between her left side and her right side. She was just, but there was no like panic or struggle or anything like that. It was very like, well, I can't really get comfortable, but I'm gonna just keep trying sort of deal. And she never rolled or did anything like that. So when I told Jason, you know, a little after 12, I said we should head inside, and he's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, we should. You know, she would want to do that on her own. That's just the type of horse she is. You know, like with horses who, like her mom was very much like that. And so we tried to catch, when Miss Kitty was born, we tried to be able to watch, but there was no way we were ever going to catch Missy having birth. There's just no way. She was too sneaky. And she's very much like, you know, wanted to do it on her own kind of deal. So, and I had been in and out of the arena last night half a dozen times or more, and opening and closing the big door and whatever. So Jason and I turned around and we went to walk out. And Miss Kitty was laying halfway across the arena, like towards the wall, and she picked her head up and looked at us, and she stood up and she started walking to me. And Jason said, she's coming right to you. And she did. She came right to me. And I put my arms around her, and I gave her a big hug, and I told her it was okay. And as soon as I let go, she turned and just walked a little ways and just laid down. And we walked out, and there are no words that could have spoke any clearer than that. She knew, and I knew, and she said goodbye. I knew she was gonna die last night. I didn't see any reason to call the vet. I've watched people die. I've watched cats die. I've watched horses die. I've watched dogs die. I've watched all sorts of things die. And you can just tell, you know, that she was fine. She didn't need assistance. And she's the type of horse that if the vet did come to try to euthanize her, she probably would have like jumped up and kicked her in the head. Just because she's just, that's just how she is. It's her way, and it needs to be on her terms, and I wouldn't expect anything less out of her. So we went to bed last night, and Jason came in and woke me this morning and said, she's gone. And she had gotten up. You could tell, we could see where she had laid down. So she had gotten up 2 more times. So she was near the door of the arena. She got up and she walked about halfway, laid down, and then she got up again, walked towards the end of the arena. So she was kind of by the back doors, and she laid down right there, and she was on her right side, and she was just dead, and she was laying flat. There was no marks around her legs at all, like on the sand. So, I mean, it doesn't look like she even so much as moved her legs. And something to that was kind of weird is, you know, like I expected her eyes to be kind of fogged over because that's normal. And they weren't. They were crystal clear. And so when I walked out there, and I did video part of this morning, but so I walked out into the arena and I was fine. You know, I'm a pretty strong individual. You know, like I understand that things happen, and it's going to happen, and so I got out there, I walked up to her, and as soon as I got up to her, I totally lost it and just cried for like 10 minutes and hugged her and sat there. And then Rosie came over. Oh, and there's this too. So I walk out there and Rosie was laying down right next to her. Oh, these animals. So when I was sitting there with her, then Rosie came over and she was nuzzling me, and then the cats got to be with me, and they just know. Animals know. So, but yeah, it was, so my brother works for a paving company, and so I talked to him right away, and he came over and checked out where, you know, where we can be able to do this, because he was here when Poco died. He's the one that dug the hole for him, and so he had a guy at the shop that could come and take care of it for us. And so we walked out, and it's like kind of iffy, you know. It was cool this morning, everything was frozen, but then it warmed up. It got up to like 50 so far today, so it warmed up significantly, and then everything's a mess. And so we had like a 50-50 chance of getting the backhoe back to where we wanted it. And my husband is very stubborn, and he knows that, like, he knows that I wanted her back there by Poco. Like, he knows that that would be my first choice, and he will do everything he can to make that happen. He's like husband of the year, big time. So we needed help though in keeping the horses all away, and so I called Beck, and Beck came, and, you know, it was like, okay, don't come anywhere near me or anybody, and whatever you touch, you have to like go put somewhere that nobody else is gonna touch it. But Beck kept the horses away, and we got getting Miss Kitty from the arena to the field was definitely not for the faint of heart by any means. We had to snow blow a path. Maybe I'll just walk up there with you guys. I'll show you. We had to snow blow a path up to the arena, and I have this drag that I hitch to horses and I pull it. It's a conveyor belt, and it's cool. You can stand on it and kind of, we call it snow surfing. And we've also used it to drag round bales out to the field and stuff. And so we had to snow blow a path. The snow blower is getting clogged because the snow is like slush and yuck right now. So that was clogging. So I grabbed WD-40 and lined the whole inside of the chute with WD-40. And then Jason was able to get up to the arena with that. And then we took our four-wheeler with the drag. And then by the time we got her, Jason and I were able to put her on the drag, like physically lift her onto the drag. And we had to attach her to the drag to get it out. And it's like downhill and on a corner. So I mean, it was sketchy. But Beck was right there too. Beck was kind of at Miss Kitty's feet and I was at her head, and we were doing everything. My husband's very respectful too, in the sense that he's like, well, we got to keep her head up, and you know, and he was really worried about like hurting my feelings. And I'm like, we got to get her out. Don't worry about, I'm not going to be upset. I mean, this is what it is. Now we have the problem at hand where we got to get her out there. So, but we did it as respectful as we possibly could. But coming down the hill and around the corner, he really had to gun it. And Beck and I were trying to push the four-wheeler, and I still probably have mud on my face. I got mud down my shirt. I got mud. I'm covered in mud. And now, since I just fell in the hole, I'm covered with mud even more. But yeah, so we got her out, but the four-wheeler couldn't handle pulling her all the way out. So we had to switch to the side-by-side, and all the horses in the pasture kind of came over and saw her and sort of got to say goodbye. I didn't get any footage of that stuff, but Manzer especially was very, very interested in her. It was interesting. Something that I did was I have a horsehair Makati rein that is on my hackamore, and a gal named Sarah Hagel made it, and she does an amazing job. And I remember talking to her a while back about a story, you know, somebody, you know, his horse had passed, and it was a really special horse, and he cut all of its mane off and tail off, and he gave it to her, and she just held on to it for a while, and then she made him a horsehair Makati out of that horse's hair. So I thought about that, and I made sure I took all of her tail, and oh gosh, she had a gorgeous tail too. She had, like, when she would move, she had kind of a sachet to her. Like, she would kind of swing her hips, and her tail would swing too. She was very elegant. Like, she would totally be like, if she were a human, she would wear stilettos and be like all business, you know, like super classy lady. But so I took her, I saved Poco's forelock and some of his mane as well. So I took Miss Kitty's off, and I will, what I thought would be kind of cool is I'll take some of the hair that I had saved from Poco, which is still in its location that I put it in when he died 8 years ago, because I haven't been able to touch it or look at it. But I thought it'd be cool to save all that and maybe start taking like little clippings of my horse's mane and put it all together and make a really awesome horsehair Makati made out of all of my horse's hair, instead of buying ones that are already made that are out of somebody else's horse's hair. I think that would have a lot of it would be just cool because I would always have a piece of them with me no matter what. So, and there's a gal named Ivy McNulty. She's in Gunnison, Colorado, and she has a business called I Am Silver, and she's on Facebook. She does an amazing job. I bought a pair of silver earrings from her and then a silver ring, and I looked at some of the horsehair stuff she had, and it was just gorgeous. But I would like to have something made out of, like I said, I saved Poco's hair and I saved Miss Kitty's, so someday have something made out of their hair as well, jewelry wise. But guys, this is only, I've helped bury a lot of horses, and I've been there when a lot of horses have died, but this is only the second horse of mine. I'm 40. I'm gonna be 40, and this is only the second time in my life that I've lost a horse. So, and we were talking about it earlier, and I was thinking, I was 13 when she was born. No, I was actually, I'm pretty sure Miss Kitty's birthday was June 15th. So I didn't turn 13 until July 12th, 1993. So, think about that. Anybody out there who's 12 years old, think of like Manzer to you guys now, or a foal that's born right now, and then fast forward to when you're 40 years old. That's how long I've had that horse. She's the last animal from my childhood. I've been with her longer than I've known my husband. She's been there my whole life. So, but now let's talk about how she's buried. So some of you may seen, there's a couple videos of my kids with their, chickens, and we have Hot Sauce, who was my daughter's absolute best bud ever, and Hot Sauce was just the coolest chicken. And Hot Sauce passed away in December, okay? And Hot Sauce was like a geriatric handicapped chicken, and my daughter carried her everywhere, and she just, she had a gimpy leg and couldn't really get around, but she loved my daughter. And she'd hear Tova's voice and she would come gimping over to her. She was just the sweetest chicken. She was so cool. And Craig Turner, you need to stop commenting. So anyway, she loved this chicken, and Hot Sauce died in December when we were out of town. But Tova her request was that we save the chicken till she could be buried in the spring. So we did. And so I thought about that today, and I'm like, oh, Tova, do you want to bury Hot Sauce with Miss Kitty? And she's like, oh, that would be great. So she was so excited because Hot Sauce is buried with Miss Kitty, and they're two very special animals. And the way Miss Kitty was is, if you were to ask Miss Kitty, okay, who do you want to hang out with, another horse or a chicken? She would totally choose the chicken. So I was really, really happy that we were able to do that. But when we dug the hole, and you'll see when I get around to, it's going to take me a while to post the video of this day. I'm going to do like a tribute to her and stuff. But when we dug the hole, oh gosh, there's so much water. There's so much water in there. It's like soup. But we're able to get her in there just right. And that means something to me. I like to know that they're facing the right way, that they're laying there a certain way. And when Poco died, I wasn't there when he was buried, and I regret that very much. I really wish that I could have been there, but Jason did everything in his power to make sure that it was done respectfully. So I'm glad that I could be here for Miss Kitty. And so she was laid down, and she's laying nice and flat, and her front legs were kind of like stuck against the wall. And my husband, and there's a lot of water, like to the point where the water just about covered her. And my husband climbs down into the hole on the bucket of the backhoe, lowers him down into the hole, and he fixed her legs, and, you know, got the toe strap out and got everything, and she was just perfect the way she was laying. So I was so happy. And then I handed him the chicken and I'm just like, and the poor guy in the backhoe is probably like, oh my gosh, what am I getting into here? But, and so yeah, so I told the guy the story about the chicken, and that's why we were burying the chicken with the horse. So hot sauce is buried right next to Miss Kitty's head. And yeah. So I'll make sure to show you guys some videos at some point about hot sauce, because she really was a gem. Like, I can't believe it. I mean, this chicken was like a dog. And yeah, so. All right, guys, I will show you. We're going to take a walk up to the arena, and that's kind of probably where I'll sort of end for the day. But just know that everything went really smooth, and oh my gosh, my wishes were so granted. You know, you just heard me talking the other day, last week, whenever that was, about how, you know, I had, like, this is what I hope happens, but you just never know. And so I'm really glad that it worked out the way it did. I'm really glad that we were able to bury her on our property. That was a big deal for me. All right, let's go take a walk. So you guys just enjoy the scenery, and I'll try not to fall or get sucked into any more holes. Oh gosh, I'm so soaked. Yuck. So you guys can keep asking questions and stuff as I'm walking. Yeah, what a mess. What a mess. And then I'll show you, but when we were, so this is from the backhoe. We got lots of fixing to do when it dries out. Ugh, this is just gross. So it was such a gross time of year. The backhoe got out here just fine, which was awesome. But then I'm like, oh, it's gonna get stuck on the way out. I just know it. And when he went to go into, because our only option was he came in through our hay barn. That was really the only way to get him out here. And there's a big dip, and I'll show you. So we're not exactly sure when she passed. I'm guessing it wasn't too long after we left her last night, because she'd only moved the 2 more times. And she was still, there was still some warmth in her when I went out, but she had been gone for a while. So I would assume that she passed somewhere between 2 and 4 this morning. And Jason went out at like 7:30 and found her. Hey, Blossom. Thank you guys. I really appreciate all the kind words. It's awesome. You know, and the oh yeah, this is just gross, hey? It's so gross. Hey, Annabelle. Pretty girl. Yeah, and this water is really running. Hey, girl. Hi, Nakona. Hey, you don't have to get up. You can stay down. She's like, no, I gotta get up. So remember, here's our little stream. My gosh, it's really, really flowing. But I'm gonna show you, do you guys remember this hole that Miss Kitty had been laying in, the reason why I pulled her out of the pasture basically? But this is it. Look at how huge that is. It's so deep. And that water is a good solid foot deep or more. It's crazy. Hey, Nika. Oh, there's just horses down everywhere. They're so cozy. Hey, girl. I want to say hi to everybody. Hey, Sal. Yeah, guys, I really wish that I could have had an autopsy done on her too, to know exactly what was going on inside. But I mean, I am 100% confident that she had cancer of some sort. There was something major going on inside of her. So, and it was like, you know, we just gotta get this done. So here's, check this out. This is where there's our hay barn. This was the only way of coming in. So they had to go in through the hay barn, and the backhoe got stuck there. So that took about 15 minutes to get out. Yeah, look at the water run. So we came through this gate, and this is the rope I was using to keep her head up when we were pulling her through. So I'll take that back to the barn with me. And we came through here, through this gate. I'm just gonna take this way. So, yeah, Jason snowblowed all this. Oh, is it a mess? Ugh, it's so sloppy. Coming down this right here was very sketchy. So we made it, but Beck and I were moving fast, trying to keep up. And she died right here. I pulled her blanket off of her and So, you know, I don't know if she was sleeping per se or not when she died. I'm guessing it was probably, you know, maybe she was resting, but I don't know if she had a heart attack or what would have happened at that point. There was no blood or anything like that. She had a lot of sand in her mouth, but when she was laying down, she kept putting her mouth, you know, she was resting her mouth on the ground. So I felt bad that she had sand in her mouth. I didn't know how to, last night I wasn't sure how to rinse it out without her, you know, she wouldn't have liked that anyway. And then it would have just been worse because she would have made mud everywhere. So, but we did try to give her, I offered her some grain last night when she was laying here. And it was funny though, because I put, I'm just gonna sit down on something. I put a pan of oats and a pan of senior feed. And Can you guys hear me okay right here? Is this an alright spot? I'm gonna sit down. My boots are full of mud. But I tried to give her some oats and senior feed, and I just put it in 2 separate pans and just set it down in front of her. And she kind of picked up her head and just like put it in the oats and just laid there with her head in the oats and just took a couple deep breaths. And then she picked up her head and she put it in the senior feed, and she just kind of took a big like bite and kind of mouthed it a little bit, but then just sort of spit it out. But you could tell she's just like, oh, I like that stuff, you know, but she just couldn't eat it. She was beyond that point. And, you know, at one point Jason was just kind of kneeling next to her, and she sort of laid down and just put her head in his lap a little. And so, but that's my story. I'm going to continue to share her journey, because I've shared everything up through December on her. The next video that shows her is from like Christmas Eve, and you know, in that video she actually looked really good. I mentioned that in the video, so I was like, oh, she's doing great. And then some things started to go downhill a little bit. So I do have a few more videos of her that I'll continue to post, just because when, you know, years from now, if somebody goes back and watches Miss Kitty's journey, I want them to be able to watch all of her videos and see the whole story. So you guys just know that there are some, I am going to post more about her. And so I don't want anybody like being like, wait, I thought she died, you know. But that way her playlist will be complete. And we'll have the video from today be the last video in her playlist. So, but thank you, Paula. Thank you. Thank you, Soul Tiger. That's very nice of you. I really appreciate it. It's very kind. And, you know, gosh, I don't understand, because like my mom's horse that we just put down a couple weeks ago, it's weird. The timing is strange. The timing is just so strange. So it's like they all know, okay, it's time for us to all go now. I don't know. Okay, guys, I'm going to keep it, I don't know if anybody has any questions, feel free to send me a question, whatever. You can post it in the comments below. I've been enjoying reading everybody's comments, and yeah. Thank you guys, I really appreciate that. So tomorrow I'll probably work with one of the horses. Master's equine, that would be very nice. Rosie is in a stall, and I think I'm actually going to put Rosie, she looks really good the way she's moving, so I think I'm going to put her back out with the herd. And, you know, she looks good, so I don't really know that she needs to be in the arena anymore, and now that she'll be alone, I kind of would rather her be out with the herd. Oh, so somebody just asked how my kids reacted. Well, as you can see, I don't know if you saw the thumbnail picture, the picture for this video, but that was my son hugging her after the fact. And, you know, he told me, I firmly believe that being honest with kids is so important. We need to protect them to, you know, I mean, of course we need to keep them from the details. Like, I didn't really want them to be with when we buried her, just because, like, I took video of the actual burial. I'm not going to put that on YouTube, but I know that my kids will want to see parts of it. So, but I didn't want them there just in case something like gruesome should happen. You know, I mean, you never know. So, but I'm sorry, I'm reading your stories. Jeez. So, but with the kids, they knew last night, you know, I wanted them to be around her. I didn't want to hide any of that from them. And I let them know, you know, guys, it's real close to time. And so this morning, I didn't even need to tell them. They just saw the look on my face and they knew. And they wanted to come out and see her. And I totally respect that. So they both came out and saw her. And Bodhi said, Mommy, I just need a moment with her. And it was so cute because he just kind of, you know, crouched down over her, and it was pretty sweet. And Tova was the same thing. Tova wanted to be helpful. That's how she is. Bodhi's the sensitive one who wants to, like, console, where Tova's more like, you know, if there's a injury, she wants to help fix it. Tova wanted to be the one to take the blanket off of her and help prepare her mane and stuff like that. She wanted to be the helper. So it was good for them to be part of it, and they each got to pick a lock of her tail, and they were running around with that and enjoyed. Yeah, in the picture, Carrie, yeah, Bodhi's laying on her and giving her a hug, and it was just so sweet the way he was being. So I snapped that picture. So that was after she was gone. But so yeah, the kids handled it very well. And I also, Violet, I also called her and we chatted for a little while, had a little cry together because, you know, she loved her just like I loved her. And so, it's all good. And I notified the whole Barn family, and everybody's sad. And, you know, Beck had wanted to come out and see her, and I told her, I said, you just can't. Now with everything that's going on, you just can't. And then I thought about it. I'm like, well, shoot, now we're in a pickle, and I don't have anybody to keep the horses away from the gate. So I'm like, okay, as long as you don't touch anything and you don't breathe on anybody. And because her mom works in the medical field, so, you know, with the delivering babies and stuff, not the other end of it, but still, I'm like, you got to keep your distance, and we're all trying to be so careful with everything happening, but you know, guys, when you have situations like this, you realize how, like your spouse, for instance, you realize how strong your relationship is when you deal with something like this. Because like last night, we were all out here together as a family, and things have been chaos. Jason's working so much, and it's been just ridiculous. But we were all together when we needed to be. And, you know, Jason dropped everything to make sure that he did everything necessary. So it's good. And I'm not going to lie, too. Now, you know, I feel I'm sad, and I'm going to be sad, and there's random things over the next however many years that are just going to make me cry. But right now, my adrenaline and my strength is taking over the emotions. Where, you know, this morning I was able to just let it out and cry, do my thing, gather myself up, get some coffee, regroup, and then be strong. So, and then be strong for the kids. And kids need that too. So, and they handled it like little champs. They're just amazing. All right, guys. So, I will see you tomorrow. I don't know what for sure I'm going to bring you, but I'll bring you something. So, we'll just kind of let the day go and see how it all plays out, okay? So, thank you all so much for watching, and thanks for all your love and support and kindness. I really appreciate it. So, all right, whoops. Till tomorrow. Bye.